goes, and that one's sailing back there, and it's gone!
Now, those are some of the plays and the insights of playing baseball at the highest level, not just posting about it. Now, let's flip the script. Here's what my students and families have to say about working with me.
Just share his stories of the kids asking him, what did you do? And his one answer was one word: Evan.
It's an overall great program to improve your metrics, mental approach, your velocity, and your outreaching strategies. Because there's a ton of players I know that are way better than me that had zero offers because they don't know how to reach out to coaches.
Pretty much every possible number when I've gone up. I was high 70s and now I'm aiming for mid to high 80s and hitting the same thing. I was high 80s off machine and now I'm able to put some balls out in the mid 90s.
JT's motivation to want to do it at home, be proactive in his baseball career, and we are able to do these things for him, and it's self-motivated and he's taken that action. As a parent, you want to be able to say yes to something like that.
It's been making me feel much more confident. Like now going into the season, I feel I have all the ability I need and I can just play and trust that all the work I did will pay off.
Started working out, I was about 120, 115, about 160 now. I trusted it and it worked. If you want it, go get it. It's not going to come to you.
My EV was about 75 and my body weight was around 155, around that. Since I joined that, I'm up to almost 180 now and I'm hitting 80s, around mid 80s.
How much more kind of committed he was and how much more confident he became in his own progress, instead of questioning himself about, am I doing the right thing or is this the right thing? So you could kind of see the stress level decrease a little bit, and then that energy could be focused on really all of the program aspects, right? Or his workouts.
Do that. If you could get on and do what you said day in, day out, it's amazing. Like a game changer.
Through your program, I just realized like how much more I could learn. I could just feel the improvement over the course like of 4 or 5 months, like you said. I could feel the improvement myself. With you being able to supply me with this type of structure, I'm able to just learn for myself and learn how to improve by myself, which makes me feel a lot better as well as a lot more accomplished in the end.
You can give him guidance and he can always ask questions to you. I could see how he became more confident after talking to you every time. You are always there when he needs. I think it's really important to know or be told from someone professional like you.
It was a completely new experience for us. I think we were skeptical. We dove into some of the content. We realized how good it was and the quality of it. The way that you kind of worked with him and you set expectations for him. Like, hey, these are the things I'm expecting from you. And that was a big part of why we enjoyed the program as well.
The program has made me like a little eagerness to go out and do something and not just like wait for the team practice and do things on my own.
As his dad, I can tell him till I'm blue in the face that this needs to be done. And sometimes it doesn't resonate coming from the dad. Sometimes it needs to come from a pro ball player.
Through your program, I just realized like how much more I could learn. I could just feel the improvement over the course like of 4 or 5 months, like you said. With you being able to supply me with this type of structure, I'm able to just learn for myself and learn how to improve by myself, which makes me feel a lot better as well as a lot more accomplished in the end.
I definitely recommend joining it. It's awesome. The community's great. Having you there to support you is incredible, and overall love the program.
You get the full structure. You get your lifting, you get your arm velocity, you get your mechanics, you get your hitting, and the hands-on approach from you.
Infield velo was 68 or something like that. It was not good. My 60-yard dash was 7.7, which is not good. And I was not very mobile. I wasn't very strong. I mean, I'm a big kid, but a lot of it was just like from my size. My infield velo now is 80, and my 60-yard dash is 7.0.
It's insane. What was the root cause for all that?
I mean, it was just staying consistent with the program. I think just I had to really stay on, like focus on the path that I was trying to get. You know what I'm saying? I was trying to become elite. I was trying to get better. I know the stats at the time. I was like, oh yeah, that's not that bad. But going back and looking, that's not where I should be to play at the next level. Staying consistent with the program really helped me through that time.
I feel like now I'm really dialed into what I'm doing. So when I do it, it's just like this before, like you talked about earlier, like it's just coming in natural.
It felt good. I mean, it gave me my confidence shot up. I think you should join in. You do a really good job of replying back to messages, and you're really fast to help out other people with like coaching and their swings. You're a pretty good coach.
Hitting improved, touching improved, velocity went up, speed went up, everything in general went up. Before joining, I tracked my 60 time and I was running at 8.22, and then after a while, I did a showcase, and then I ran a 7.08.
What do you think leading cause for that? That's crazy jump.
Probably mobility and probably the exercises that you have in your academy that allow for growth in those little tiny muscles that people forget about.
I could tell I was hitting the ball a little bit harder, and then it got better and better and better, and then my speed picked up with the sprinting training and all that, and I was just getting a lot better. But before that, it was not super good. I've definitely picked up on my hitting velo. Before I joined the program, my velo was 72 off the bat, and at this showcase, I hit 80.
That's insane, dude.
No, so when I first saw your program, you were talking talking about how to get to college and how to get D1 and get recruited and all this. And that had me super interested because, you know, I'm trying to go D1 and everything, try to get a scholarship and all this. And your program definitely talks about it and helps you walk through it and get you started. Honestly, I would say like the program definitely helped me a lot. You know, helped me work through some things, get my visualization for games and all that, just get me prepared.
Obviously, like my program's remote. Like, have you had any trouble by doing the work that I provide you?
Not at all. It's right in front of you. You know, so it's super easy to get. Search it up, find it, and start working.
Welcome Evan Mendoza to the program.
Cardinals third baseman Evan Mendoza.
Giving it a look, finds the railing and he tumbles over, but he made the catch. Unbelievable, Evan Mendoza.
Gran jugada en Evan Mendoza, dos joyas defensivas.
Evan Mendoza makes a great
Rounded up the
play.
middle. Mendoza throws off the shortstop. Mendoza field spins.
Short Mendoza, throw to first in time. Wow, what a play by Evan Mendoza.
Short. Mendoza to second for one. Oh my word, you've got to be kidding.
Evan Mendoza.
For Mendoza.
Mendoza lifts one to left. An inning. Mendoza, that one's sailing back there, and it's gone.
Now, those are some of the plays and the insights of playing baseball at the highest level. Not
Testing,
just posting about it.
testing.
Now, let's flip the script. Here's what my students and families have to say about working with me.
Just share his stories of the kids asking him, what did you do? And his one answer was one word. Evan.
It's an overall great program to improve your metrics, mental approach, your velocity.
All right. Hope everyone's having a great day today. My name is Evan Mendoza, and welcome back to streaming. We are back on track. We are in our 5th day streaming every single day to make sure that you guys get your questions answered. So this is a series that we're doing because this is important to get good quality information in the baseball world, especially considering there's so much noise, and that's something that you guys probably feel that frustrations with. So let me actually just make sure that everything is good to go, and then we'll be on our way, guys. One of the biggest things that I love to do on these lives is to, number one, answer guys' questions, because every one of your guys' questions will be specific to you, and I think that's really, really important to make sure that you're getting some guidance in the aspects that mean something to you. Just because every high school baseball player is going to come to me at a different stage, and I want to make sure that you guys also just get that quality instruction. So I'm going to go ahead and actually just move this. I didn't really love, I've been messing with some of this stuff, and I'm going to actually delete this out. We don't need that top thing anymore because I want to have more real estate for you guys to be able to ask questions and for a clean setup. But yeah, guys, if you have any baseball related questions, feel free to ask them right now. I do have a little bit of a topic for today, and I will get into that because I think it's always important to kind of switch things up. I also like to do things in the past that you guys have asked for, which is things like profile audits, which for whatever reason you guys really love, as far as talking about some social media, how to brand yourself, making sure that we're posting the right things on social media, also on Instagram, making sure our bios are efficient and effective to these college coaches. So these are the things that I like to always talk about because I think they're important. Mostly because not everyone's going to do them, and not everyone also is going to play college baseball, right? So if we have that shared mindset of it, we have to do what others won't, so tomorrow we can do things that others can't. That is, those are the types of people that I like to mesh with. And if you just heard that right now and you're on this live, I mesh with you. I appreciate you for joining in to this live. So today's topic, we're going to go over some profile audits on Instagram. If you want your or your son's Instagram bio to be broken down as far as what needs to be changed, any areas that we could be doing some improvement, make sure to just drop a comment of the username, or if you're typing that on a baseball specific username, go ahead and put your Instagram bio. I just saw Logan, coffee and baseball, always good to go. I got my Cuban coffee right here, energizing me this morning. Yesterday, we also did some swing breakdowns, and I'm curious if you have a swing that you want me to break down. That's actually my OG method of content for those that don't know, first off, my name is Evan Mendoza. I played 7 years of professional baseball between the Cardinals and Padres, played in a World Baseball Classic, went the D1 level at NC State University while studying aerospace engineering. But back in the day, 2019, in the middle of kind of like COVID, I really started to post a lot on TikTok. And believe it or not, I did a lot of swing breakdowns, over 7,000 in a span of 3 months. So that's kind of like my OG content. I love doing swing breakdowns. So if that's something that you guys are interested in, I can definitely do some of that. But yeah, we're gonna do some swing breakdowns. We're gonna do some profile audits on Instagram. Again, we need individuals to raise their hand and be like, hey, I want my Instagram bio to be broken down. For those that are curious what that might look like, that would look like something like this, where I'm giving you guys instructions on what your CTA is, and a lot of you guys probably don't even know what a CTA is, how we can optimize that bio area, making sure that we have a link in bio. This is an area called a profile name that a lot of people just don't understand the value in. But Andres, oh, let's go. Andres just joined in to the program. Let's go. And it looks like Jose, hope all is well. So let's get Andres's Instagram up and running. So first one thing I need to do, guys, as far as this process, is I always have to screenshot, I should say, the profile, and then from there we'll be able to make some adjustments. And by the way, Jose, like, Andres has all ability to Slack message me. He's over on Slack, so if he has any questions on what I'm gonna cover here in a second, definitely ask him to reach out to me, and I'll also mention you dropped in. So I'm gonna go ahead and airdrop this over to my iPad, so that way you guys can see it. That way I'm able to break everything down with you guys. All right. It looks like this thing is right there. We're gonna go ahead and make a new layer. Make sure this guy is always staying on top. And then we'll be on our way for our first profile audit of the day, which is gonna be Andres, my student that just joined in. So let's get it going. Cool, all right. So, first and foremost, no post yet, right? No post yet. So we need to have some level of a preference, really some level of a presence. That's what I was going for. And really, people don't need to overthink about this, especially in the recruiting game and how social media can be used to tell the story, right? I always like to say, baseball players in the recruiting process are a blank canvas, right? They are quite literally a blank canvas. There's nothing going on inside this blank canvas other than white space, right? So in the recruiting game, it's our duty to be the artist, to be the painter, and to be able to fill in artwork. This is artwork, right? Inside that canvas, right? That artwork, a couple of other ways of going about it, obviously perform really well in tournaments, present ourselves in a professional way when we're emailing college coaches, which is something that Andres and I will be doing here shortly on our launch call. But social media is another avenue of basically building up that canvas and building up that white space, right? And just like this grid kind of shows, how many posts do we really need? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Really, we just need 9 posts to have somewhat of a full looking Instagram profile. So we don't need to post consistently every single day or anything like that. And I know, social media can be very overwhelming to people, but like once you post 9 posts, you'll be able to understand like, okay, cool, I'm clicking post. It's not a big deal. I'm not overthinking it, because a lot of people will overthink that, whatever kind of button, it'll say post. Some people, overthink that. I don't want you to be overthinking that ever. But let's get that out of the way. Cool. So, a couple of things. So, this is the profile name, right? The profile name should be as clear-cut of an example of who this profile is really about, right? And as far as it like this, broken up names, right, with the hyphenated last name, that's easier to read than, of course, the username. The username, by the way, is completely fine. The one thing I would suggest is to give a little bit more context on who this is, right? Like we can tell it's a baseball profile, but this is where the profile name, so this is profile name. And if you go into Instagram settings, this is like, if you pull up my Instagram, it'll say baseball development with like a hyphen right here, not a hyphen, a vertical line. So that's where like you can put New Jersey here. You can put grad year. You know, you can put different things, and then maybe even another one, and then put like positions, right? So that's kind of like a generalized template that we can use inside the profile name that communicates basically who we are, what grad year we are, what position we are in a quick snapshot, right? So that's one area. I keep doing that, man. There should be a way to... Okay, whatever. We're gonna have to just... I don't know how to undo. Okay, we're gonna just add the photo again. Okay. So, profile name, area that we could be optimizing for, bio, right? So having just New Jersey in there, we can tell more of a story. We can put New Jersey, capitalized. And the emoji style, that's something that I've seen in a lot of bios. For example, let me keep that activated. Oh, it was right here. I didn't need to get another one. So let's just talk about the bio real quick, because this is an area that I think a lot of people don't really understand how to go about it, right? So you can do the emoji style of like, boom, you can put like a smiley face right here. You can put like a baseball emoji, and it kind of just looks a little bit clean depending on who you ask, right? Some people hate emojis, some people love emojis, and it's just like kind of like a bullet, like we know like the bullet form, right? Or like an arrow, arrow, arrow. It's something like that that just kind of separates lines, and it's a clean line break. But ideally what we could do here is, state that we're from. We could do travel team, or high school team, jersey number, and then some type of CTA. So that's where actually jersey number, I would probably put it up here. So I'd put number and then some type of CTA to keep it at maximum 3 lines. The CTA is really watch you can either say 30-second highlight video or my winter 2026 highlights. So that way they know it's relevant, they know it's updated, and then basically you put an emoji or an arrow down. Again, the arrow should be like right here, and that's where we can put a link. And ideally to a YouTube video, because YouTube is just that much more of a professional database where college coaches are familiar with it, so it's going to be very, very easy for them to digest that information. Drew Pollock hits one morning mashup. I don't know what that means. One thing, also forgot to mention, profile picture. So profile picture, and this is something that we'll do when we're sending out these emails, Jose. Clean cut. Basically think of like a school picture, shoulder up. That's going to be the best way to really see Andres's face, and that's something that's going to help college coaches really put a face to a name, and it's going to be able to kind of like keep that connection going. So those are some areas that I would definitely look to improve, especially on the social media game, and hopefully that all helps. There's also, I think, a way to delete these layers, but can I delete through that? Merge, combine down. Looks like no. There used to be a way to like swipe. I can't figure it out for the life of me how to delete these. The only thing I can do is turn it on and off. But anyway, hopefully that helps. So that was one profile audit, guys. We might just do one more, and then that way we can get right into some swing breakdowns if that's something that you guys are interested in doing. I always like to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that on these lives. And for those that are curious, we are also live on Facebook. We are also live on YouTube, and we are also live on Instagram. So we've got a few people on every single platform. There were a couple of questions that I missed, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit these right now. So do college coaches actually read emails? And the simple answer is, without a doubt, yes, do read emails. It's probably the easiest way to communicate with really that, I don't want to say that age bracket, because of course college coaches are different ages and that's to be expected. But what we really want to do when we think about a job application, right? Let's say, and I'm using a job application because probably, if I had to guess, the majority of the people that are in here right now might be parents. And that's the reason why I'm doing coffee and baseball. I'm trying to talk to the parents because the parents, I think, need the help the most. The players, they have fun. They enjoy themselves. They have a good time. But yes, they read emails, right? And what we really want to think about, so I'm going to actually record this for a short form video, right? Because I think this is really, really valuable. Okay, so, all right, let's get into it. So do college coaches actually read emails? And the short answer is yes, without a doubt, 100%. And what we really need to think about is we need to meet these college coaches with where they're at. For example, how many of, let's just say 100 college coaches use TikTok, right? Probably 0 if I had to really guess. But no, so the basis of that is like, we can try to attract college coaches to TikTok, maybe even try to DM them, try to even search them up. But the matter of fact is like that age group probably just doesn't use TikTok the same way that, a 14-year-old might use TikTok, right? So that's where we need to also understand which platforms are going to be best, especially on social media. So like Instagram, X, Facebook, like which one is the best and which one do the majority of people use? Like, well, how many college coaches really use Facebook to recruit players? Probably not many. So that's where we really have to think about meeting these college coaches with where they're at, and just about everyone uses email. It's free, typically speaking. You can probably pay for like no ad versions and whatnot, but at the end of the day, what we want to do is directly communicate with them right off the bat, right? And we want to be able to do that in an efficient manner. And if we try to like do like a DM strategy, which there are some recruiting services that will send thousands of DMs for your son, well, DMs are very easy to get lost. I don't know if anyone's used like the Instagram search function of a DM, or maybe you've had a DM conversation, and it's very, very difficult to reference that once you've kind of lost it. Email, there's a very easy functionality to search up emails. It's a really great way to be able to track progress as well when we're giving these college coaches metrics. So without a doubt, yes, college coaches read emails because of that age group, and we're meeting them with where they're at. So hopefully that answers your question about if college coaches, yes, they do 100% read emails. So let's go over one more question before, and by the way, while I'm answering these questions, if anybody wants me to do a profile audit over on their Instagram page, just put like me in the Instagram chat, or if you have like a specific player or a baseball account you want me to review, then go ahead and do that as well. Maybe just like write the account name. But all right, so should I start my video with game clips or workouts? So let's actually record this one as well, because I think this is a good question as well. I like some good questions over on Facebook, so that's always good to hear. Okay, cool. So should I start my video with game clips or workout? So my easy way of always crafting the perfect highlight video will always start with game clips. And the reason why is because that's when that performance matters the most. Next up is going to be training. And training, I mean skill training. Next, we can do training as far as gym work, or, agility, or like your 60, and basically showcasing that athleticism. The reason that we start with that game film, it's usually the most coveted. It's the area that we, without a doubt, show the performance that we're able to do it on the stage of whatever that stage is for you. Maybe it's travel ball tournament, maybe it's a high school game, but at the end of the day, this is gonna be showing that you can actually do it against the competition that you're playing against. It also helps these college coaches know what kind of competition you're facing on a day-to-day basis. Now, as far as the skill work, that's gonna be where we can create the environment of taking ground balls every single day and record ourselves taking 5, 6, 7 ground balls. And that's going to help in that whole recruiting process. And I already know you guys are thinking about it. But last but not least, this is where it's also important to showcase our agility and our work ethic in the gym and what we're able to throw around. So at the end of the day, we want to be able to showcase that we can move some weight in the gym. And this is going to be able to create a comprehensive approach on who you or your son is in ideally 30 seconds or less. And that's where editing style matters a ton. And that's something that I help my students out with. So yeah, that's just something that I think is really, really powerful for a lot of you high school baseball players to understand how to craft up that email, because everyone, I knew you were thinking it, Kevin. I knew you were thinking it. I knew you were thinking it. I know there's other people that were thinking it as well. But no, like yeah, guys, if we know how to craft that highlight video and we want to make sure it's engaging to these college coaches, that's the most important thing, because once we send over a game changer clip and it's just incredibly boring, you know, guys, what the game changer clips are. They're not fun to watch. They're pixelated, they're zoomed out, they are just not enjoyable by any means. Ooh, this is a feisty question. This is a good one. I'm happy that someone asked this one. Okay, we're gonna record this one too because I'm on a roll right now. All right, let's do it. Okay. How much development should happen in season? So this is a little bit of a life story that I want to share with you guys. My freshman year of high school, I was in Maryland and I was on varsity, and I did not work out at all during my season. I always thought my performance was more important, especially in a high school season, more important than my development, right? And I was wrong. Sophomore year, my family and I moved to Sarasota, Florida, Sarasota High School. It was a nationally ranked program. We also had the most MLB draft picks back when I was in high school. If you Googled it, that's what came up. I think things have changed. But I was on varsity as well my sophomore year. And really, I was only a right-handed pitcher because the competition was so much harder. In Maryland, I was a shortstop and a right-handed pitcher. But anyway, this was the first time in my entire high school baseball journey, inside my entire baseball journey, where we were told, yes, we were basically told exactly what was going to happen. We were going to lift 3 days a week until the last week of the season. And I remember my heart sank because I was like, holy cow, I'm not prepared for this. I'm not going to be able to throw. I'm not going to be able to pitch. My body's going to be sore. I'm not going to be able to perform to the best of my ability because I'm not used to lifting during the week, during the season. And it really was a mindset shift that once I overcame that, it actually made me feel that much more stronger and that much more agile throughout the season. It made me feel strong on the mound or in the box, right? And these are the things that a lot of people don't talk about, but I think they're really important because we need to have that ability to train and really focus on that development side of things to further our game. And if we never do that, then how are we going to get bigger, stronger, and faster compared to those MLB talent? Yeah, guys, these are some great questions. By the way, thanks for the great information. Keep up the great work. Let's go, DJ Danny. I really appreciate that. Evan, I'm 15 and in the gym, do bicep curls and deadlifts. Is it good to be able to get power? I mean, biceps, man, not necessarily the most important thing, right? Because if we're training like a bodybuilder, what's the goal, right? Is the goal to be a bodybuilder or to be a baseball player? Because I'm choosing that one. I want to know how to rotate. I want to know how to have lateral quickness, right? These are the things that I think matter a lot more than curls, bench, just your basic stuff, right? Best videoing app, CapCut, without a doubt. And even the paid version, it's like $5 a month, but I use it literally daily. I'm getting a lot more into streaming, so that way I don't have to use it, and that way I can just clip things off of it. But CapCut is the go-to. It's free, it's super easy, it's very mobile friendly. You can get the desktop option as well for free as well on your computer. But CapCut, It's on the App Store. It's completely for free. But yeah, they've got really easy transition. They've got templates that you can use. It basically just ignites that process of being able to create content. And I've done lives before where I kind of talk about this. We don't want to think about creating, right, content. We want to think about documenting that content, right? We don't want to think about creating a specific reel for a specific game or a highlight video. We want to just document the journey, right? And if we're able to do that, there are some players, I think there's one in Jersey, Francis, I believe his name is. He's doing like Road to the Show day 604, right? And he's super consistent, 600 days in a row. And that's super cool, but that's an area where he's documenting the journey of getting to the dream outcome, right? And that's something that's great. Then add it to YouTube. Yeah, YouTube's gonna be great for more of a, let's break it down as far as my mindset on these platforms, right? So let's start off with like Facebook, right? That's gonna be for like, in my opinion, like friends and fam, right? We're not really trying to build anything. And yes, you can post content on Facebook, obviously. X, that's gonna be where you want to give quick hitter information. So like on every post should have like grad year, positions, you know, things like that, attached with maybe a video, right? And how we're formatting this, of course, can be different based off of every platform. So that's X. We went over Facebook. As far as Instagram, I'm going to cover YouTube here in a second. As far as Instagram, this is where we're able to really hit the most number of eyeballs, right? Because that is what we're after. We're not after which platform, is easiest to use from your perspective, or which ones, most liked in the US or anything like that. What we're really looking for is the eyeballs. And that's typically through Instagram Reels is the best way to go about it. There's different formats, of course. There's carousels, right? That's images. And that's actually not going to get seen to as many eyeballs. It's actually going to get seen to a lot less people over here. Whereas Reels, a lot bigger people. There's more of an audience, where over here it's a lesser audience. And of course, that's where that strategy on how to be posting is really, really important, and choosing the right platform. Now, YouTube, in my personal opinion, YouTube is like a library, right? There's a door, there's a window. We need to think about it as a library. Back in the day, actually here in North Carolina, there's a library that has basically like no books other than this like really cool automated book area. But we need to think about it as like a collection, as a journal in some capacity, but really a library of plenty of videos, right? And the reason for this, and if I pulled up my YouTube right now, and by the way, I think Rach, I've seen you in some of these lives, so if you haven't checked out some of my YouTube content, make sure to do that right now. But basically, it's going to be a great area to put long form and horizontal videos. Horizontal meaning like this, vertical meaning like this. Vertical is basically for IG and like TikTok and Reels, things like that. Horizontal is going to be used for, again, YouTube, right? And that makes it a little bit of an easier viewer experience for these college coaches, because typically they're at their desk, kind of like I am right now, and I'm able to see things bigger screen. I'm able to slow things down. I'm able to see the specific mechanics maybe for your son. So these are things that I think are really important to understand, like why we use YouTube as more of a library, but we're not using YouTube as the way of actually getting people into our ecosystem and getting those eyeballs. Again, the eyeballs are going to be coming mostly, and this is what I instruct my students to do, we're trying to get that over on Instagram, maybe on X if we have an outbound strategy of reaching out to these college coaches, but I would probably stick to just Instagram and YouTube if I was through the recruiting process right now, because once you start scaling up to multiple different platforms, that's where it can become very, very overwhelming. I know that from experience. We post over 500 pieces of content every single month on 8 different platforms. So it becomes very, very overwhelming, speaking from experience. And the reason that you guys have even come across my page is content, right? So hopefully it's come to your guys' attention at some capacity that content can drive some level of, familiarity with either myself, because there was a point in time, you have to think back, like maybe it was a week, maybe it was a couple days ago, maybe it was 3 months ago, you had no idea who I was. right? And that could be Kevin, that could be Rachel, that could be anyone that's joined in right here. That could be Danny DJ, right? That could be the Coleman, Drew Palak. That could be Andres and Jose Bracho, right? Like they joined into my academy, I want to say like less than a week ago, right? So there was a point in time that you guys had no idea who I was. And through this content, you were able to, again, what I like to say, this is a canvas. And I was able to kind of fill that canvas with some colors, with some artwork, with whatever this artwork is. It's obviously just scribbles, but at some capacity, that canvas was filled enough where you're like, I know this guy, I know what he's about, I know he played 7 years of pro ball, I know he gives out good trusted advice on lives daily, 5 of 50 days at 11 a.m. Eastern, right? So like now you have a pretty good understanding of what this canvas is. Whereas a lot of high school baseball players think that is the solution, right? Like think about how much more you know about someone from the other example compared to the person that barely posts that, right? There's so much more out there, especially through content. And I wish that a lot of people, truly understood the benefits of content. I've been posting since 2019, guys, so I love talking about this stuff. It is something that I actually talk to my highest end program students. It's called Branding with Baseball. We talk about social media because that's really a passion project for me, is to make sure that more baseball players are utilizing social media to help not only get them recruited, but also gain NIL opportunities, get some free Bruce Bolts, or get some cool Evo Shield or a new sliding mitt for free. That's pretty cool, just through posting videos, and that's something that I've been able to do. Back here, if you're on Instagram, you can see the sunglasses in the background. Oakley sent me like 15 pairs of glasses. It was really, really cool. So yes, you can add it to YouTube, but I would probably, Rachel, to answer your question, probably send it over to Instagram to get more views. You can do a horizontal format as well on YouTube if you'd like. I've been training my son to implement movements that he would be using in a game situation. So strength, speed, agility are things that needed to be improved off the field. Is that pretty accurate? I mean, yeah, generally speaking, 30,000 foot view, that's exactly where you want to be. I'd say the biggest area that you probably didn't mention, and maybe you forgot to mention it, but is just rotational strength, because obviously with pitching and throwing and hitting, we need to have that rotational ability to really get that hip shoulder separation and making sure that we understand how to have that rubber band stretch in our swing, or really in that pitching motion as well. And then do we need to add his name in the video? So no need. That's where the profile will do the talking. The bio will do the selling in some capacity of graduation year, things like that. In some videos, like when I post some of my students, I'll put just like first name, last name, graduation year. So it makes it very, very easy, but we're not putting all the information. We're not putting all the metrics. We're not putting all the high school stats, the high school team name, the jersey number in one video, because then that becomes clustered. And we never want it to be clustered into one video. What we want to make it is as easy to digest that information as possible. Evan, have you ever thought about playing again? Not really, because I remember my dog Coco got out of her harness one day. This was probably about like 5 months ago, and I ran after my dog. And my last injury that I had when I was with the Padres, it was 2023. I had a grade 3 tear on my left adductor, which is basically my groin. And yeah, when I ran after my dog Coco, it was very, very challenging to run at like even 50%. So yeah, it was just like, it was frustrating. If we want to go down memory lane, in 2023 on the 9th game of the season, I tore that and then basically rehabbed all the way throughout like the end of the season. And I only played in like, I want to say like 28 games that year. So basically subtract that. I only played in like 20 games post injury. And I remember those 20 games felt like I was 400 pounds. Like there was so much more weight on my everything, my legs, most importantly, it was weird. My knees felt terrible because I was sustaining so much more pressure for every step I took in, even in like when I'm getting in my ready position as an infielder, really, really difficult to get into that position over 150 times, per game, right? Think about every single pitch. If we're playing defense, we have to be ready every single time. That's like a halfway squat. You're getting into that super athletic position. So, yeah. But yeah, more like a watermark. So a watermark is like a grayed out logo typically that we'll put on a video, Rach. Not sure if there's really ever a need for a watermark unless we're talking about like trademark stuff. So I would avoid all watermarks. If you're talking about like CapCut watermarks, there shouldn't be. If there's a CapCut watermark, there might be some setting that you have turned on the wrong way. What would you say that a good batting average is for JV in high school? I could care less about batting average in high school. And the reason for that is because we need to understand the difference, and this is really important as well. So what would you say that a good batting average is for JV baseball in high school? So Kevin, I could care less what your batting average is, because at the end of the day, what really matters is the difference between metrics and stats, right? And what you just gave me is a stat. Your batting average, your ERA, these are all stats, whereas metrics are things like your exit velocity, your arm velo, your 60-yard dash time. These are the things that ultimately make it very comparable to these college coaches on where you're currently at among your graduation year, and maybe even their current players in their current program. As far as your stats, it's very subjective because we don't know who you're playing, right? We don't know the competition. We don't know if you're playing against the school of the blind. And if you're playing against the school of the blind, they're not going to field the ball. They're not going to be able to catch the ball. So your batting average might be 800, it might be 1,000, right? So with that in mind, we need to include not only stats, but sometimes, we don't always want to bring up our stats, but we want to bring up our metrics. If we just have our metrics, though, that's where we can be labeled just a showcase player if we don't have the stats to back it up as well. But I would lead with this first and then come with this second if asked. If asked, right? We don't want to necessarily present that like it's something to brag about, because in high school, we don't know who the game scorekeeper is, right? And those are things that can dictate basically your batting average. So we always want to lead with metrics first, then come in with stats after being asked. Hopefully that answers your question. I'm a bigger wanted to play at the next game. Is that an issue? So what does that mean? I'm a bigger wanted to play. One second, guys. We have some barking dogs. So I'm going to go ahead and change up the scene real quick for you guys. Listen to some of my students and their take and maybe some highlights real quick. I'm going to be back in about 1 minute.
Baseman Evan Mendoza.
Mendoza giving it a look, finds the railing and he tumbles over, but he made the catch. Unbelievable, Evan Mendoza.
Gran jugada en Evan Mendoza, dos joyas defensivas.
Evan Mendoza makes a great
Rounded up
play.
the middle is Mendoza, throws on the shortstop. Mendoza field spins, throws.
Short Mendoza, throw to first in time. Wow, what a play by Evan Mendoza. It's short. Mendoza to second for one. Oh my word, you've got to be kidding.
Evan Mendoza.
For Mendoza. Mendoza lifts one to left.
An inning.
Mendoza, that one's sailing back there, and it's gone.
Now, those are some of the plays and the insights of playing baseball at the highest level, not just posting about it. Now, let's flip the script. Here's what my students and families have to say about working with me.
Just share his stories of the kids asking him, what did you do? And his one answer was one word: Evan.
It's an overall great program to improve your metrics, mental approach, your velocity, and your outreaching strategies, because there's a ton of players I know that are way better than me that had zero offers because they don't know how to reach out to coaches.
Pretty much every possible number when I've gone up. I was high 70s and now I'm aiming for mid to high 80s and hitting the same thing.
All right, this might be a terrible idea. Hopefully not, but we've got the dogs in the background. On YouTube, you might be able to see Coco's nose right now. We could try getting, okay, Coco's gonna, yeah, she can give me a hug. That's what she does. Okay, we're not gonna do that. Don't do that, please. Don't do that. This is Coco. Sophia's right here. Okay, Sophia, we really need to stop that. Sophia, all the way up, all the way up. No Coco. No Coco. All the way up, Sophia. All the way up. All the way up. No Coco. This is great. This is great. This is so much fun. All the way up. All the way up. There we go. I am going to crash out because look at myself right now. So we got interrupted. I was answering some baseball questions and I had a couple of visitors. We have Coco and Sophia. And it's really hard to do day 5 of 50 days streaming every single day at 11 a.m. Eastern when these two bark boxes love to bark. And I already took them out. That's the thing. I already took them out. So it's like, what do we do? Okay, Sophia, you're trying to get on the desk. This is insane. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? Sophia. Sophia says hi, and Coco says hi to all Mendoza Baseball Academy followers. If you guys want to meet Coco and Sophia, maybe join into one of our lives. We're streaming every single day for 50 straight days, excluding Sundays, at 11 a.m. Eastern. Sophia, again, say bye. Say bye. Okay. Wow. Wow. Okay, can we just calm down so we can answer some questions? Because I'd really appreciate that, and I think everyone watching would also appreciate that as well. Anyway, guys. Anyway. Okay, yeah, let's get back into it. If anybody has any baseball-related questions, we were just kind of talking about the difference between metrics and stats. Obviously, stats aren't as important as metrics. Metrics lead the way, and then stats will kind of get everything going from there. Okay. So, this is a good one. So, how honest should I be with coaches about injuries? Right? So, I don't know, just out of like show of hands, I don't know how accurate this is going to be to the 9 people that are on Instagram and a couple over on Facebook and Instagram, or Facebook and YouTube. But anybody that's sustained some level of maybe like an arm injury, this is where this conversation comes up a ton, because you don't know if you want to be completely transparent with these college coaches as far as communicating with them, hey, I just got surgery. That's why I don't have any metrics. These are the things that constantly will be brought up, sometimes on eligibility reviews, by the way, because a lot of you guys feel like this pressure of not communicating these things with college coaches, and I completely get it. I don't want you guys to feel like you have to tell these college coaches things, and that's a big thing that's happening in high school baseball and travel baseball, and making sure that you're communicating properly with the coaching staff at whatever level it is, right? So that's where, like, if you're not going to tell them, there's going to be some buzz in some regards. If you're a higher end prospect, why isn't this guy pitching? What's going on? Is he taking rest? Is he hurt? Is he being shut down? So being shut down is basically a way of saying, hey, I'm pitching too much, and I'm going to go ahead and basically shut down my arm so that way I can get that rest. So there's many different things that can happen, can be the leading cause of injury. But with these college coaches, like, they're going to catch on sooner or later if you're out for like a full year. So that's where it's okay to be transparent with them, understand basically what's going to happen, or understand where you were at before with your metrics and where you're after. And that's going to definitely help you a ton. We got Kevin over on on YouTube. This year, my school plays top 10 to top 60 schools in North Carolina this year. Awesome, Kevin. I didn't know you were in North Carolina. What part of North Carolina? I am pretty close to NC State here in Raleigh. So, awesome. We got a fellow North Carolina in the house. Let's get a couple questions though. So someone asked over on Facebook, who's my program actually for? So pretty good question. Obviously it's pretty wide open for the most part, but first off, like, we typically work with high school baseball players. Like, that's the basis of who we work with. We sometimes will allow very dedicated 8th graders into the program because we want to establish that foundation earlier, if anything, not later. We've worked with like 2 JUCO players, trying to help get them through the recruiting process, through the transfer portal and things like that. But again, the basis of who we actually help are high school baseball players, helping them play in college. And what we really are trying to optimize for is going through the recruiting process one time, right? We want to go through the recruiting process only one time because we don't want to have to go through it multiple times, go through the portal. We don't want to go through all of that again because it is very stressful and it is time consuming. So really the name of the game, guys, is making sure that we're going through this process as efficiently as possible, so that way we don't have to burden ourselves later on in going through the college recruiting process 3 more times. And I know people that have bounced around schools, especially with the transfer portal, 3 or 4 times. And think about going through the recruiting process literally 4 times. That is insane. That is so time consuming. That is so stressful. Think about at any stage in those 4 opportunities, if there was just no schools that basically offered a certain individual, what would happen? Your baseball career is over and done? Like, that's a scary, scary, scary feeling. So I don't know why, but some people go into recruiting, and I've heard this so many times from parents. We're just gonna, settle for like a JUCO or a D3, and then we're gonna move up later. So you're telling me you want to do double the amount of work of the recruiting process when ideally this should be a one and done process? Like, choose the right school, not just choose a school. Choose that right school so you don't have to go through this recruiting process many, many different times. It's so confusing and it's not needed. Hi, so I have a late birthday, November, in the class of 2027. Do coaches take that into account when they see my size and development? Not as much as you'd think. If we're talking about okay, so you have a late birthday in November for 2027, compared to the next youngest is what? Probably, June, July, August, right? It doesn't make that big of a difference, man. Don't use those things as your limited beliefs on why college coaches aren't taking you serious or aren't getting back to you. That's not the reason, dude. The reason's probably just based off of 98% of all high school baseball players. It's the physical development and the player development, right? When we're talking about player development, it's this big overarching umbrella. And I think this is something that I want to draw out, right? We have, an umbrella. Boom, 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 boom. Boom. That's a good umbrella, guys. That is a good umbrella. So when we talk about player dev, right? This is the umbrella because we're trying to develop players. And I got to see this when I was with the St. Louis Cardinals organization and San Diego Padres as well. So they have a whole department about player development, right? And what's underneath this umbrella is physical, right? And that in, athlete's mindset, that's the gym, getting bigger, stronger, faster. Basically doing everything athletically that you need to physically get better and to develop physically. There's also, let's go skill, right? So the skill work, think about hit, catch, because you have to catch the ball and throw the ball. That, in a nutshell, this right here, that is baseball's definition, right? If you can hit the ball, if you can catch the ball, if you can throw the ball, that's all you need to do in the game of baseball. So that's your skill work, right? And you've maybe heard college programs or pro programs talk about basically doing skill work. Well, what is skill work? Skill work is the fielding work. It's basically anything involving the ball. And that's actually a big comparison I actually heard from, I think it was when I was with the Padres. They talked about the strength and conditioning coaches. They weren't allowed to use baseballs in the gym. So that's basically the separator. Once baseballs are included, now it's the skill development and not the physical development. The physical development, we have people like strength and conditioning coaches, performance coaches, things like that help the physical games. The skill, that's going to be your basic baseball coach, right? A hitting coach, a fielding coach, a pitching coach, right? So now we're starting to see what this bigger umbrella of player development is. And again, Terry, more than likely, again, it's not your birth date, which is the reason, it's your development. So we're talking about physical, we're talking about the skill. Well, now let's talk about the mental development. So the mental development is basically how we handle success, how we're going about our business, our professionalism, our positivity. So that's kind of, what's between our ears, right? We want to stay positive. We want to make sure our headspace is in a good space because baseball does require so much failure out of us. It's important to know how we go about that, right? So that's the mental side. There's also nutrition. Nutrition is going to be, like food. And we do have resources at the highest level for pro ball. And even in college, we have nutritionists. Basically, they help pick the foods that we eat, right? So when you think about professional baseball and also college baseball, we're typically given a pregame spread and a postgame spread. Basically, a spread is a funny way of just saying a long table and the food is spread across the table, right? So when we're thinking about basically a pre and post game spread, we're not the ones choosing what foods we want. Someone else is. And that nutritionist right here helps with that. And guess what that helps with? The overall player development. So we also think about hydration. That's not really, I'd say nutrition and hydration are the same basically. We want to make sure that we're obviously fueling our body, and that's what really nutrition really comes down to and boils down to. As far as anything else, let me think real quick. We got the physical, we got the skill work, we got the mental, we got the nutrition. This is probably the majority of it. I would say under mental, one thing that I didn't cover is the component of, stats and how to digest stats as a professional baseball player. Because when you become a pro, even in college, typically you'll have baseball reference. Your library of more available stats have now exponentially grown, right? And it's can be frustrating if you don't know how to use these stats to your advantage and what to ultimately look for. If I was a hitting coach, for example, and I heard a hitter talking about his attack angle to the zone with his hands, and that was the only metric that he really cared about because he saw that the MLB average was 64 degrees and he was at 45 and he really wanted to get to 65, right? We're focusing on the wrong things, right? We need to think about hitting the ball more than anything. And let's say that hitter, he's focusing on changing his attack angle with his hands by 20 degrees, but he's hitting 400. So those are the things that we need to mentally know how to go about that process. And there are coaches over here that kind of help out with this gray area in between to help, again, with the common goal of player development. There are other areas, and this is probably going to be a little bit more specific to organizations, right? So the Cardinals were a little bit different than how the Padres work, and as you can imagine, the other 28 teams. But really, leadership is an area that the Cardinals did take care of. So they had a thing called Cardinal Core, and this was a group of really 8 guys on each team, and they were typically younger guys, fresh draft picks and such, that basically from these guys, they took on that leadership role of being the heartbeat of the team. And this was an area that I thought was really interesting because, again, this is an area that the Cardinals invested in as far as having that player development. By the way, one thing I forgot to mention as far as the mental side, we had Navy SEALs, ex-Navy SEALs, that were basically part of the St. Louis Cardinals and San Diego Padres that helped us through that process of just understanding our emotions, understanding failure, and also understanding the perspective of baseball and going over for okay, does that really matter when we're talking about an ex-Navy SEAL going to war and having to shoot people and things like that? Completely different, right? So these are kind of the biggest areas that I would say that are really important for college baseball coaches even to understand. I think this is also a really good understanding of how to break down your thought process in specific areas. So Letary, if you think it's about your birthday, dude, it's probably something revolving around this umbrella of player development, right? Whether it's your physical gains, which I'd say 90% of high school baseball players fall into this category alone that you need to focus on. The skill development, this is probably a good percentage of the pie as well. And these are the areas that we really are chipping away at that extra 1 or 2%. If we're able to increase in those first 1 or 2% from where we were at draft day or college, and we're constantly trying to improve these areas as well, growing them up into the right, we're going to be on a good trajectory as far as who we're becoming in this process of player development. So hopefully that helps. What do you guys think about that breakdown as far as player development? Is that something that you've ever heard of before? Is that something that you've ever, gotten a breakdown to that capacity before? I'm just kind of curious on who is still in here, and also like if there's any questions in particular. G. Loretti, okay, awesome, good to hear, good to hear. Yeah, there's definitely different areas that I feel like just when I was in high school, guys, like I had no idea what player development was. I had no clue what mental development was or how that was structured. I had no idea what kind of nutritional, resources were given to us as far as, pre-workout. Do they like pre-workout in pro ball? Are they going to give us protein? Are they going to give us protein shakes after every single gym session? Which, by the way, they will give you all those resources as far as supplements, your BCAAs, your electrolytes, your omegas, your multivitamins, your vitamin Ds. Like these were some of the things that I took on a regular basis because they were just available to us. And typically there was a little bit of a kitchen right there in the gym or right next to the gym, and that's where all these what's it even called? Supplements were there. Usually they would put a towel down and then they'd have all those supplements, and it was just like super convenient to be able to have all these supplements on the ready, on the go. So yeah, Coco, I think she heard something about protein. She was like, I want some more protein. Don't we all? But yeah, guys, hopefully that helps as far as having that player development. I'm going to go over this as far as a recording real quick. So, G. Loretti, when we're talking about the development, we really need to think about player development. And I'm going to change this color up so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. But we have the physical, and this is the physical development that I think a lot of high school baseball players are lacking. This is getting after it in the gym and getting bigger, stronger, and faster. We also have the skill development underneath the umbrella of player development. And this is where you have like a hitting coach, a catching coach, a fielding coach, a pitching coach, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, what we need to really be focusing on are the core fundamentals of baseball, which is hitting, catching, and throwing. There's also the mental aspect of mental development. And this is where we need to understand not only how to have a positive mindset, but also how to interpret stats, because this is an area that we could fall down the slippery slope of getting exposed to too many stats. One area that I think a lot of people also are focusing on increasing, which is always good, is our nutrition. This is going to be the food that we're eating and the hydration and the electrolytes that we're putting into our body, alongside with the supplements as well. So we would usually have like a nutritionist here. By the way, I forgot to mention in mental development, we also had mental strength coaches who were ex-Navy SEALs with the Cardinals and Padres. So this is all, again, with the common goal of player development. In Cardinals and the Padres organization, they would have a whole department on player development. So this is why it's brought out into this huge umbrella. For the Cardinals only, I can't really speak on the Padres or the 28 other teams out there, but there is a focus on leadership. With the Cardinals, we would have a group called the Cardinal Core, of basically the leadership group for every team at every level. And basically this was a smaller group of guys that really wanted to, create that leadership role within the team and be kind of the heartbeat of the team. So these are the areas over here that probably carry, I'd say 80% of the weight of who you are as a baseball player. This is that extra 20%, but with the intention of day to day, this is going to be the thing that really drives the needle the most, but these are the areas that we chip away and refine our abilities the most. So hopefully that helps it. You're absolutely killing it. My son is a junior in high school, and since we're on the West Coast, he's in school. While you're streaming, I wish there was an alternative time for this. Danny DJ on YouTube, there's the recording already there. So you'll be able to rewatch this entire thing. Just go to my YouTube channel and then go to the live tab, and then you'll see all the previous recordings. So that is probably the best bet for you and your son. But if your son's a junior in high school, check out my academy. I typically work with sophomores, juniors, and seniors as like the majority of the students that I work with. Check out, obviously the Mendoza Baseball Academy, the triple play. There's gonna be a video if you click the link in my bio on Instagram. And if that's something that you guys are interested in, go ahead and schedule out your eligibility review. That's basically a one-on-one call to see where your son's at, where he's trying to go, and if we can even help. So that was day 5 of streaming every single day, excluding Sundays. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern. Bring your questions, be ready to go, and I'm looking forward to it. Take care, guys.
Welcome Evan Mendoza to the program.
Cardinals third baseman Evan Mendoza.
Mendoza giving it a look, finds the railing and he tumbles over, but he made the catch. Unbelievable, Evan Mendoza.
Gran jugada en Evan Mendoza, dos joyas defensivas.
Evan Mendoza makes a great
Rounded up
play.
the middle. Mendoza throws off the shortstop. Mendoza fields.